Shalom, everyone. I'm always very blessed to have a connection to Benedict's class about the Mishnah. We just learned about the Sikarai, and there was a reference made to Masada. So Masada, as a mountain, was actually considered a Rishut Yachid because nobody could get in it without severe injury or even death. Um, so let's look at some of the loopholes related to Rishut Rabim and Rishut Yachid. We have seen in the previous sections that the prohibition of Hotza'ah includes transporting an object more than 4 amot, approximately 6 feet, in a public domain, since one's personal space within the public domain is defined as 4 amot. And if you remember, we also said that in Ba'aratra it says that every single Jew has 4 by 4 amot as their personal property, whether it's for cemetery or otherwise. And so that is one of Hashem's promises. And again, it is mentioned in this week's parsha about the inheritance of the land. So if someone transports an object further, more than 4 amot, he is deemed to have moved it to a different domain and transgresses Torah law. But within a square of 4 amot by 4 amot, approximately again 6 feet by 6 feet, one may carry. Therefore, this is again only according to the Torah law. Only one who has carried something a distance greater than the diagonal of a 4 amot square. And for me, this is a little bit confusing because I failed trigonometry in high school, but apparently it's around 2.58 meters, which I think translates to approximately 7 feet, has violated a Torah prohibition because only then it is clear that he carried outside of the permissible area. By Torah law, one who wants to transport an object within a Rishut Rabim may carry it a bit less than 4 amot, stand still in order to establish a new location for the object, then walk again for less than 4 amot, because what we saw yesterday was about the stages of Akira, Ha'avara, and Hanacha. So Ha'avara is not performed here because the person is walking less than 4 amot in the public domain. So this person can continue in this way, starting and stopping until he has transported the object wherever he wants it. However, the sages forbade this, lest one end up carrying more than 4 amot, and thus violates Torah law. So even before the argument of what we call the Achronim in the 19th and 20th century of what is the actual definition of 4 amot and how large it is, it's somewhere between 48 and 58 centimeters, according to the different opinions. Then the sages forbade it because this is what's called Safek Doraita, a questionable biblical commandment not to carry 4 amot. So you have to be more stringent, as opposed to if it was a rabbinical commandment, you can be more lenient in a case of doubt. And that's why Rav Melamed continues to, even in a Carmelite, which is considered a Rishut Rabim, only rabbinically, they forbade carrying an object less than 4 amot out of concern that one might come to carry more than 4 amot in Rishut Rabim, according to the Torah law as opposed to rabbinic. However, and this is the leniency, one who stands to lose his money, such as one who is traveling with a large sum of money when Shabbat begins and has no safe place to hide it, and maybe I'll give a little bit more background. He's at the edge of the city. The city is actually now considered his domain, but he doesn't want to carry the wallet or the money in Rishut Rabim on Shabbat, and there is no non-Jew is available to guard the money or transport it to his home. And again, may I add, a non-Jew who is not trustworthy. We learned that in Daf earlier this week. Then, in order to prevent his suffering from a financial loss, the sages permit the Jew to carry his backpack in the manner discussed in the previous paragraph, starting and stopping and making sure to walk less than 4 amot each time. Pachot, literally less and less, from Dalet Amot, from 4 square cubits. He may continue this way until he reaches a place where he can safely leave the money. This permission applies even in a Reshut Rabim. In a Carmelite, one may generally carry this way for the sake of a mitzvah, which we mentioned a little bit yesterday. So I don't know how many of you were on Benedict's class earlier this week, where we talked about in the comments about the Orach Chaim being able to define what the actual permission is for carrying. But there's another story about somebody who entrusted his money with somebody who lives at the very edge of the city, and when so what we discussed earlier this week was about a wallet that was found by a Jewish person, and there was only 900 gold coins in it, and the person trying to make advantage of this honesty of the Jewish person was claiming that there was 1,000 gold coins. And the judge actually listened to Rabbi Chaim ben Attar's explanation and accepted this idea, and basically made the finder make an oath that, or say an oath that there's only 900 gold coins where he found it. And so the judge ruled in his favor because it couldn't be this other person's wallet, because he swore that there was 1,000 gold coins in it. So he lost everything because of that. The story specifically for Shabbat that is related again to Rabbi Chaim ben Attar is that there was a person coming back from outside of town and just made it into the town premises on Shabbat, or just as the sun was setting. And so he deposited the money by this person who he trusted would give him back the money after Shabbat. Unfortunately, the person claimed that there was no such transaction, there was no such meeting between them, the two of them. And so Rabbi Chaim ben Attar listened to the plaintiff and to the petitioner, and basically said, I have Ruach HaKodesh, I have the Spirit of Hashem working with me, so I'm going to command you, the person who claims that you'd never received this money, to go to the tree, which is where this person, the plaintiff, claims this transaction took place, and make this tree come here in order to witness whether they saw it or not. So the plaintiff went over to the tree, and while he was gone, Rabbi Chaim ben Attar commented to the person claiming that he had no such recollection, saying, that tree must be very far, because I commanded the tree to come back here and testify, and unfortunately fortunately, the person actually admitted that there was such a tree, and he said, no, it's right by my house. And so that's how he caught him in this lie of giving the money. So I think that that's a perfect example of how this halacha was taught, where the rabbis do not want to make somebody lose their money on Shabbat. Yes, they made a general rule, a general takana, maybe even a fence, to not desecrate Shabbat and to not walk 4 amot in a Carmelite. But in the case of somebody not being able to secure their money or whatever else they were in possession of, they allowed them to bring it to their safe place, to their house, etc., on Shabbat, because of this loss, which we are not commanded to do if it's only in quotation marks, a rabbinic prohibition. So we'll stop here and open up for questions.